In today's session, we're going to draw a simple botanical tile with a couple different tangle patterns, and it won't be a terribly complex one, but I hope that you'll enjoy following along, or better yet, drawing along with me. To start this tile, we're going to draw a diagonal line with our pencil from the upper left corner to the lower right corner. And then we're going to draw another line about a third of the way across this top. We're going to start it, and we're going to draw that down to the same corner. And the same thing here, about a third of the way up on that left side, we're going to draw another line with our pencil also down to that corner. This just gives us placements where we're going to frame the rest of our drawing. So once we've done that, we'll begin drawing down in this corner with our pen. The tangle that we're going to start with, and which will primarily compose our pattern today, is called Foundabout. We're going to start down here, and we're going to draw a little bit of a curved line and then come back like this. And now we're going to draw from about the halfway point of that line that we've just made. And we're going to draw outward again. We're going to repeat this process until we create a little bit of a scaffolding or a ladder type idea, just working our way up toward that corner where we drew that line. Now, as we go, we'll want to adjust the sizing just a little bit each time so that we can draw slightly smaller as we get up closer to that corner. Don't worry about being perfect in that sizing adjustment, but I just wanted to mention that's what we want to do as we go up this way, is get a little bit smaller and a little bit smaller. So once we have that, we can draw the second part of this tangle, which is the bottom part of these shapes, sort of the flower petal or the bottom bell, or however you want to think of this. We just want to draw this down and connect it to that other line. Now what we're going to do is, starting here on the right hand side, we're going to draw a couple lines that will go around behind here, behind this first piece. And now we can draw the same thing on the left. Just kind of connecting these pieces together as though they're overlapping or nestled within each other. Just helps to bring all these pieces together. Now we want to do the same basic pattern following up this way along this general line that we've drawn. However, we want to do a slight variation of the pattern. So if you want to watch here first, then you can kind of see what we're doing. So I'm going to do the same initial shape, but I'm going to curve it and make it more like that instead of with the point on the end. Just a slight curve to that line, and then a little curve at the end. And now we're going to start back just a little ways from the end. So we don't want to go right out to the end like we did here, but back a little bit and bring it around like this. So you'll see here, once we have that, we can now create that opposite piece where these things are kind of nestled in. Just again, that over and under, or that layering effect. Just like that. And now we're going to do this same type that we've just completed. We're going to do a set over here on this side. So now on this center one, we want to draw some orbs in those initial components that we drew, those little stems or that edge of the flower. This will just add another variance or distinction to this particular row. So we've got the major components here. So now what we want to do is add our second tangle pattern, which is called Damsel Leaf. And I'll show you how this is drawn here. We'll start on the outside left edge here, I guess. And I'm going to draw out, and I make a little loop, and then I make a leaf that has a curve to it. And then from here I draw a line out, and we draw like that. So we get this little shape that looks like this, and then we ink this in completely. This darkness will stand in contrast to all these other lines that we've been creating, which will help provide a little balance and difference in value to our overall composition. So we want to place these in a pleasing sort of way throughout the drawing. So I'm going to alternate back and forth on each side so I can create some kind of a balance here. This one I'm going to bring up and around. Oops, was off the camera there, sorry. We'll show you plenty more of these. Alright, now let's bring one on each side here of the main plant. We'll bring it up, we'll make a loop, a leaf, and then we draw out for that other leaf, just like that. There's different ways that you can draw this same shape, of course, so there might be other ways that are easier or more comfortable for you. I'll show you a variance here in just a moment. I just find this creating a continuous loop is helpful for the flow of the plant, if you will, or this little leaf. But let's say we're doing the same idea right over here. We could just go out, create our end loop, and then we decide what side we want to place that leaf on, and we come out and around. And then what we're doing is basically following the primary line right here, and then just creating a smaller curved leaf. Now the last tangle that we might use here is called Fescu, and it is a very common little enhancing tangle that we're just going to add a few of them here and there just to add a little more fullness and a little more variety to our drawing here. And they are just a wavy little line with that end on it, very much like the damsel leaf, but just without the leaf. Just allows us to add a few more little intricate details to the design. That looks about good for what we're trying to do. So now we just need to add some additional details to our drawing here that will help it look a little more complete. Now it's time to add some graphite shading to our drawing. Now what we want to do is add some darkness at the base behind the shapes we drew. So I'm using a darker graphite pencil. I'm being pretty heavy here because I want to create a bit of a darkness in the background, but I'm using a ragged edge rather, because I'm going to disperse this graphite outward, and I want it to not have a perfectly straight line where I'm creating that edge. Now once we've laid some graphite in there, let's just smooth it out a little. One thing I don't often do with my Zentangle drawings, but it is fun to do now and then, I don't always add color. But I think I'm going to do so in this situation. I'm going to add to these areas a darker blue, which will enhance the essence of background or shadow, but it also will add some complementary color. In fact, let's do this. Let's make this, and then we're going to go back and we'll add some white gel marks to those little circles and orbs that we made, which will give us kind of a neat look, I think. Now, if we take a jelly pen on these the two side flowers, let's try it's a complementary color to the blue, but it's a completely different color. This is sort of a light orange color, or yellow orange. And I'm going to leave those little initial spots in just like we did on the others, and we're going to see if we're going to do something different with those. Now with that done, let's try a similar idea that we did a moment ago. I'm going to use a darker orange to color in those edges there. I think I'm going to also fill in these. And there we have our finished tile with some simple embellishments and enhancements and a little bit of color. Now, one additional thing that you could do, and I sometimes do this when I'm finished drawing and the coloring and the shading and everything has been done, is I will redefine some of these lines by just going over them with a slightly heavier pen to create a nicer contrast and to more readily identify those shapes. Because sometimes when we shade and color, those details can get lost. They just recede a little bit into the background because of everything else we've been doing to that shape. So this just helps us to bring out those shapes, those boundaries, to redefine, and it just gives a kind of a unique look to the overall drawing. It may feel like you're drawing the same drawing 2 times, but that's part of the process of artwork, is sometimes we do end up doing that sort of thing. Well, I hope that you've enjoyed the process today as we tried something a little bit different, doing more or less a monotangle focus with some additional smaller tangle embellishments, and then nicely adding some color to that as well. But thank you so much for joining with me. I always appreciate your time here spent at the Tangles and Tunes channel, and I look forward to seeing everyone again very soon. Until then, take care. Bye-bye now.